Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brew Babes podcast. I am your host, Danielle Snicker, also known as Sassy Cider Chick. And here in the studio with me is okay, it's actually just me. If you're seeing this on video, you can see that I have this beautiful greenery wall behind me because I am actually recording in our recording studio. This has been a long time coming. We were weeks and weeks behind, but it is here. It is beautiful. You can't see it right now because no one's sitting next to me, but we've got Betty White in here. We've got all sorts of really cool stuff. When the girls come in, probably next week, we'll do an episode all together, and I'll be able to show you I'll show them around and show you around at the same time. So we will do a tour, but right now it is just me, and I am going to fill you in on life after Tampa Bay Beer Week. As you know, Tampa Bay Beer Week, if you don't know, I will tell you, Tampa Bay Beer Week ran from March 6th to March 15th. Me and Taylor and Kat, we were all over the place. Beer fest and brewers balls and all of those really, really cool and exciting things. We got to really kind of sit down with so many beer enthusiasts, so many women in beer. Me and Kat were at the Females of Foam on Wednesday over at Web City Cellar, where we got to hear some amazing women in the beer industry speak. And now we're about a week after that. Everybody went back to work last week except for Taylor. The reason we are not in studio is I'm in studio, but they're not, is because Taylor's actually out of town. She had a family trip that she had to make, so she is not here. And of course, after me and Kat took multiple days off from our home breweries to be involved in Tampa Bay Beer Week, we actually had a really busy week kind of catching up with stuff. So I am here. I'm here alone, but I want to fill you guys in on so many really cool things. So obviously the studio is done, and that is something that has just made me so excited. I had to jump on here. I literally have no hair, no makeup, no nothing. So hopefully you're listening and not watching. Even if you're watching, I don't care. This is me. This is who I am, and I'm always one to be like, we should just be, proud of who we are and proud of all that. So I'm very body positive. I'm very looks positive, and so you get me, just the way I am. But so life after Beer Week has been interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on for all of us. I'm not going to go into details for what's going on with them. Obviously, we have an episode coming up where they're going to be here and they can tell you all about it. But I am actually making a bunch of changes. For me, we are really focused on the podcast. I'm personally focused on the podcast. So for me, I'm doing a little more of the promotion stuff. So you're going to see me at a lot of new places. You're going to see me doing a lot of events. I have a couple of collabs for ciders that I'm going to be doing with a couple breweries. We have some events coming up that I can't wait to tell you about. Well, one big change that I'm making that I can tell you about today is that I am going to be over at Commerce Brewing from now on Saturdays and Sundays. It's actually going to start in a couple weeks, but you can see me there as soon as when this airs. It'll be today, but I'm actually recording a day early, so it's tomorrow for me. But when we put this out, it'll be today. And I'm going to be, just kind of learning the ropes over there. And then in a couple weeks, I will be taking over behind the bar on Saturdays and Sundays. If you don't know what Commerce Brewing is, they're actually a contract brewery, and they brew for several other breweries, several of my favorite breweries, by the way. So this is super exciting, and I can't wait to connect with a whole new group of people. It's in Largo. I've been working in Newport Richey. If you know anything about the Tampa Bay area in Florida, you know how big that area is. So this is actually a whole new community that I get to talk to on a regular, plus all the new events and things like that. So super excited. I think I definitely can say this. So if I can't, well, oops. I am also going to be one of the amateur chefs on Try This. This is done by Best Florida Beer. It's going to be on April 16th, which is the Thursday. There are only 75 tickets available. There's going to be some other amateur chefs. We are getting paired with a style of beer or with a specific beer, and then we are actually making small bites to go along with it. I'm super excited about this. For people who know me at my home brewery at Emerald Coast Brewing, they know that cooking is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And I've cooked for everyone there many, many, many times. So being able to kind of show how I pair my cooking and some beer and kind of show how those things can go together and be amazing and just both enhance each other. I'm super, super excited about. There's going to be a lot more details coming out, but honestly, we'll link to it. It's called Try This because there are very, very limited tickets. So if you want to do it, if you want to be there and see me and other amateur chefs, then definitely get your tickets soon. So because I'm by myself, I get to talk about whatever I want. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my thoughts from Tampa Bay Beer Week. And I'm going to tell you, I am so in awe of the ladies of beer, especially, and I'm sure that this goes all over the country. I know that at Females of Foam, we definitely heard from several females in the industry from other states and things like that. But I want to tell you, I got to interview so many women during the 10 days of Beer Week. And some of the things that really stood out to me was how many of them were in the science fields, the STEM areas of beer, because if you know, beer is not only an art, but it's a science. And there are so many women with very advanced degrees that just didn't want to go the medical route, that ended up, kind of in biochemistry and then ended up in beer. I was so taken aback by how many beautifully educated women there are in the Tampa Bay beer industry. And this doesn't take away from anyone who doesn't have advanced degrees and things like that, because I certainly don't. I have a lot of years in the industry, but I don't have any advanced degrees. But women in beer are amazing. They're well educated. I heard from Amy Perino, who is a biochemist. She is the lab lead at Florida Avenue Brewing. Also, Veronica over at Independent Kitchen is amazing. She is not in the sciences. She was an attorney and went to Stetson University, which is a very prestigious law school, and now works in the restaurant industry. But she was there at the beginning of Tampa Bay Beer Week. And 16 years later, they're still heavily involved, which I thought was amazing. There was a mini Belgian beer fest. There was actually someone there from Belgium so that you could talk to them about the different beer styles and stuff. So cool. So seeing all the winners at Brewers Ball, and how many of when they'd be announcing a winner for some category or anything, how many of the team were women was just very awe-inspiring for me. So that was something that I knew going into it, because these were all women that I've known and I've been able to speak with on other times, but to kind of put that all into 1 week of meeting them and seeing them, and even some of just the enthusiasts, which is just what we call people who really love craft beer but don't work in the industry. They're very heavily involved in the industry on the customer side. And some of the women beer enthusiasts also just so knowledgeable, so highly educated on not just beer, but just in general. And it's just such a community that I absolutely adore being involved in. And they always they never cease to amaze me as I get more and more involved. So that was super cool. I don't have any favorite events. I've had a few people ask me what were your favorite times. I don't have any specific favorite events because all of it was very different, and I got different things out of every single event. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to one of our supporters and a friend of mine, Hattie, who came out with me to the Safety Harbor Beer Fest, because Kat had to be there for Gulfport Brewing and Taylor had to be at the brewery that we both work at Emerald Coast. So I had no one to come out with me for the podcast, and she came out like a champ and helped me out. And we had a great time together. Also at the Florida Brewers Guild, a beer fest, some of our supporters, Beth and Kirk. I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us that day. It was so much fun. I love being able to connect with people who, already connect with us, but then be able to kind of see them outside of the brewery and do those kind of fun things. So those were some big highlights for me. Of course, we see lots of customers at all these events and things like that. And someone asked me at the end of Beer Week, what do you love about Tampa Bay Beer Week? And this is honestly kind of sums it up for me. I got to spend 10 days with 200 of my closest friends who I never get to see because we're all so busy. And then I got to experience all of the other people who love beer with my 200 best friends. And that is an experience that every year we get to do. And it's hard. We're all tired. By the end, we're sore. I know that I had to take a break from beer for a few days, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I can't wait to see what next year brings. Where there's already meetings that are going to be happening that I will be in attendance to in the next couple months. And, so that we can just come back bigger and better every single year. So that was kind of my, my takeaway from Tampa Bay Beer Week. And I will say this, there was a question that everyone had as I was interviewing them. And these were off camera after we'd kind of wrap up. They'd be like, what do you feel like the future is for beer? Because it just seems like there's less people in tap rooms, there's less people talking about it, there's less people drinking. And so I really kind of thought about that during that week and during the time that we've been back now at home and getting back to normal life. And I want to say, and I did say this to a couple of people, I don't know what the future of beer is. I know there is one. And just like any other industry, we're going to go through ebbs and flows. And that's okay, because we're also going to innovate. And that's the one thing that I think events like Tampa Bay Beer Week, when you are, brewers and beer tenders and everyone in the industry kind of comes together and you see how much they love what they do. They love the community that's built around it. And I can't imagine any of those people just letting that go. We're going to innovate. You may not see tap rooms looking the same. I think that tap rooms are going to have to focus more on the community than just the beverage. And I think some of them are doing an amazing job of that. So I want to tell you that there are some breweries that I go into and you just feel like this is the home for everyone. This is a community space. And while they do serve amazing beers, it's about so much more than that. And I think the breweries that are going to do an even better job and innovate that kind of side of things are really going to be the future of our industry. I think, of course, women and then their prominent role in the industry is definitely going to continue to move it forward. I think you're going to see a lot of cultivation of NA beers, some lower ABV beverages. Maybe some, a take on seltzers that maybe isn't vodka, like you see like Three Daughters doing. Maybe it'll be something else. I think you're going to see the product innovate while brewers still stick to their mainstays, the ones that everybody loves, the light lagers, the ales, all of that. I think you're still going to see those things in the marketplace, but I think you're going to see a wider selection of other stuff too. And I think that the breweries that do that well are going to grow. And I think that unfortunately there are going to be some breweries that don't innovate and unfortunately may not make it, but that unfortunately is the way kind of business goes. And, it's sad to see some of that happen. I will say, I think you're going to see some movement also. My friends over at Unrefined have been in Tarpon Springs for a very long time, 5 or 6 years, and they're killing it. They're doing great. They serve great beer, but Tarpon Springs isn't as hospitable to tourism and to beer tourism as maybe they once were. And now they're taking the move into Dunedin. And Dunedin is one of those places that they really, really embrace beer culture and the beer community and breweries. And so I think you are going to see maybe some movement of some breweries that, because there's a cluster there in Tarpon Springs. And I think you're going to see that cluster kind of spread out a little bit. It's going to look different as we go, but I can't see anyone wanting to give this community up. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast and why I work so hard to get it on the air and to get this studio built. This is my, in lack of better terms, my love letter to the beer community and to the beer industry and to women in beer and all of that. And I know that Kat and Taylor feel the same way about it, that this is so much more than just a beverage that we put in a glass and drink cold ones and things like that. I think that if you even look at how beer was looked at, 20 years ago to today is very, very different. And I think it's going to keep evolving. The craft beer industry is actually quite young, really only became a thing in 1979. And then grew from there. And in Florida, it was really almost, and I don't want to say completely non-existent because there were breweries, but it was almost non-existent and in its infancy just 10 or 15 years ago. So we're still a long way away from where the community is going to and the industry is going to fall. But I have so much hope and I'm very humble and humbled by everyone else in the industry, and just so thankful that I get to be a small part of that. So I'm very optimistic. Well, I know not everybody is, but I just see good things coming. I think there's not everyone's gonna come with us, but that's okay. That's just the way it's supposed to be. But I think you're gonna see new things, new innovations, and I think the ones that do that the best are gonna be around for a long time. And we'll just kind of roll with it together. So I am gonna let you guys go for tonight. I can't wait to have Kat and Taylor in the studio. I think we definitely have it coming for next week. So our next episode will at least be with two of us, probably all three of us in this amazing studio. So we can give you a tour. Look out for some other videos, because obviously I'm still going to be making some more announcements, and so are the other girls, and we will be with you next week. And I have some really, really fun segments planned. I'm going to put the girls on the hot seat a little bit, not with the serious questions like what's the future of beer, but with some really fun stuff. So I can't wait to talk to you next week. Bye.